is the artificial sweetener aspartame increasing your risk of developing cancer? Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel and my Ask the Pharmacist series. For those of you who are new around here, my name is Marissa. I'm a pharmacist and health coach. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about aspartame. And the reason is because it has been receiving a lot of attention in the news lately, and in the medical community and in the nutrition community. And that is because the World Health Organization has very recently just come out and classified aspartame as quote unquote possibly carcinogenic to humans. And so this is creating a lot of concern among the public, and rightly so, because people are concerned. We don't want to be consuming something that could potentially increase our risk for developing cancer. And everyone's trying to figure out what does this mean about, your body, your health, and your diet moving forward. So in this video, I'm going to be providing you with some information on aspartame, as well as summarizing the summary of findings that the World Health Organization published that kind of created all of this buzz. And this way you can come to an informed decision and you can choose whether or not you would like to consume a food product that contains aspartame. And then at the end of the video, I will be sharing with you my personal preference. Also, I just wanted to point out that I have linked a bunch of resources, news articles, the summary of findings from the World Health Organization down below in the description box. So you can go ahead and check those out and read those if you would like to have some more information on this topic. So aspartame is an artificial sweetener. You may have also heard it referred to as a sugar substitute or a non-sugar sweetener. And it is used to sweeten foods without adding many calories, and also can be used to reduce someone's daily sugar consumption. It is 200 times as sweet as sugar, and it is in a lot of products these days. And you very well may be consuming it, maybe even without realizing it. A news article that I read mentioned that more than 6,000 products are manufactured with aspartame. And some examples include Diet Coke, Diet Sprite, Diet Pepsi, some sugar-free gums, along with some sugar-free syrups, some zero sugar sweet teas, and some mixes that can flavor your water, sugar-free Jell-O, and the tabletop sweetener Equal. If you're unsure about whether or not a food product contains aspartame, then all you need to do is look at the ingredient list, which is usually found beneath the nutrition facts label on the back of a food product. And if it is present in there, in that food product, then it will be listed in the ingredient list. And most of the time I see it in products that are like diet, light, things or food products that are specifically marketed to someone who is looking for weight loss. But that being said, I have seen it in other products that aren't marketed for weight loss or diet or light or something. So it's still always a good idea to check the ingredient list on a food product. Aspartame is not a naturally occurring substance. It is actually manufactured through fermentation and synthesis processes, and it consists of 2 amino acids, aspartic acid and phenylalanine, and it looks like a fine white powder. Upon ingestion, it is metabolized in the small intestine by digestive enzymes into those 2 amino acids that I just mentioned, the aspartic acid and the phenylalanine, along with a couple other metabolites, including formaldehyde, formic acid, and methanol. Some of those metabolites sound a bit concerning, but according to the summary of findings, they are unlikely to be a safety concern, and that is because other common foods that we eat also produce the same metabolites. Additionally, it was noted that no aspartame enters systemic circulation, which means that it is not getting absorbed into the bloodstream and then traveling all throughout the body. It's going to remain in the gut, where then it gets metabolized into those metabolites that I mentioned earlier. Okay, so now that we have looked at some background information on aspartame, now we're going to start talking about the summary of findings. There were 2 agencies that were involved, the IARC and the JECFA. Okay, so I wrote this down so I didn't mess it up. The IARC stands for the International Agency for Research on Cancer, and its job is to evaluate hazard identification, which they define as that it aims to identify the specific properties of the agent and its potential to cause harm, in this case cancer. And through reviewing studies, they classified aspartame as quote unquote possibly carcinogenic to humans. And this was based off of limited evidence for cancer in humans, specifically for a type of liver cancer called hepatocellular carcinoma. Approximately 1,300 studies were included in the review, and 3 of those allowed for an association between aspartame and liver cancer in humans, cancer in experimental animals, specifically those were lymphomas, as well as showing key characteristics of carcinogens, specifically that it had created oxidative stress and chronic inflammation in the body, which is kind of like a breeding ground for many diseases, including cancer. So they classified it as possibly carcinogenic to humans, but there's a couple things that they don't do, and this is where the other agency comes into play. So they don't look at the degree of risk at a particular like exposure level. So like how much of something do you actually need to take in order for like adverse effects to actually happen or occur. And then they also don't take into account the route of exposure, and they don't make health recommendations. So this is where the other organization comes in, and they are going to determine the probability of a specific type of harm, in this case cancer, occurring under certain conditions and levels of dietary exposure. Their review concluded that because of reverse causality, which is basically like cause and effect, but in reverse, chance, bias, confounding factors, and limitations, the evidence is not convincing. They use that term or that phrase right there instead of limited evidence, which is what the IARC used, and inconclusive of aspartame adverse effects after ingestion. And therefore they kept the previously acceptable daily intake of 0 to 40 milligrams per kilogram of body weight of aspartame. And the ADI, or that acceptable daily intake, is basically how much someone can safely consume each day over a course of their lifetime. To put that into perspective, a can of Diet Coke contains roughly around 200 milligrams of aspartame. So a 150-pound adult could drink up to like 14 cans of soda before they like go over that recommended limit, assuming that they didn't consume any other sources of aspartame that day. It is not wise to drink that much soda in a day, so please do not do that. But I say that just to kind of help you kind of put that into perspective. And now I'm going to read to you guys what the FDA had to say on this external safety review of aspartame. So aspartame being labeled by the IARC as possibly carcinogenic to humans does not mean that aspartame is actually linked to cancer. They disagree with the IARC's conclusion and identified significant shortcomings in the studies. They also said that more studies are needed, which everyone is going to say that. I'm going to say that. It's just something, you know, there could always be a better study done, but let's keep going. The JECFA, which I think I said it wrong earlier, even though I practiced it, but oh well, let's keep going. They did not raise safety concerns for aspartame under the current levels of use and did not change that acceptable daily intake that we just talked about. And they also said that there are no safety concerns when used under approved conditions. So ultimately, aspartame has been classified as possibly carcinogenic to humans, and the acceptable daily intake has not changed. That is still 0 to 40 milligrams per kilogram of body weight, and more studies are needed. Now, before I go ahead and mention my take on all of this, I just want to point out that this is not the first time that aspartame has made the news and made the headlines. Aspartame has been out for a pretty long time, and I believe that ever since that it was like first approved, there have been, you know, questions and concerns about, you know, the health effects that it could have on the body. I believe that it was even removed from market at one point and then they brought it back. So there's always kind of been some like turmoil behind the scenes of this. And there's been a lot of like, is it good? Is it not good? Is it okay? Is it not okay? So there's always been kind of a lot going on with it. And although the FDA said that there are no safety concerns with consumption of it when used under approved conditions, when you look at other sources, they have noted some potential adverse effects from consumption of aspartame. And those include seizures, dementia, mood disorders, headaches, migraines, cancer, alterations in the gut microbiota. So that's just all the microbes that are living within your gut. Some issues with weight gain, increased appetite, and type 2 diabetes. And there is a group of individuals who really do need to avoid consumption of aspartame. And these are individuals who have the genetic disorder phenylketonuria. And in this condition, they have trouble metabolizing the phenylalanine, which is the amino acid component of aspartame. And because of that, the phenylalanine can build up in the body and it can become quite dangerous for them. So now my take on all of this. I personally choose to not consume aspartame. I'm not a huge fan of artificial sweeteners, just in general, and I don't drink soda regardless of what sweetener was added into it. I haven't had artificial sweeteners for years and years, but I don't remember liking the taste of it, and I remember that it always kind of messed up my digestion, so that potential alteration in the gut microbiota, I think definitely affected me. And so yeah, I personally choose to not consume it. And if I feel like drinking a soda and I want that like bubbly feeling, I typically stick with club soda, and then I will flavor it with maybe some lemon juice or lime juice, maybe a tiny splash of apple juice, and that's typically what I go for. I have never been shy about, my take on healthy eating, and that is to try to make the majority of your, regular diet to consist of lots of real whole foods that are natural and filled with nutrients that are going to, fuel your body and your cells, and to try to minimize highly processed foods as much as possible. Now, my diet is not perfect. I'm not trying to make it perfect. And yours is not going to be perfect no matter how hard we try, just because of the society that we live in these days. But that's what I strive for. And as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, aspartame is not a naturally occurring substance. It is chemically created in a lab. And in my opinion, if you are looking to improve your health, then just switching from Coke to Diet Coke, Sprite to Diet Sprite, Jello to sugar-free Jello, Snapple iced tea to Diet Snapple iced tea, those types of swaps are not really going to help you in the long run with improving your health. It would be so much better for you to instead drink more water or have an apple with the skin on. Maybe you can dip it in a nut or seed butter, whichever you like and prefer and can eat. Those types of swaps are going to be so much better for you. And even though the recent review from the IARC was deemed not convincing due to limited evidence, we can't just ignore that aspartame may be negatively affecting our health. Yes, more studies need to be done, and ideally they would be funded and performed by an independent, third party, and not have any connection to the company that creates the products that use aspartame. Because if those studies bring back negative results, that is going to affect the company who creates the products that contain aspartame. It's going to affect their bottom line, and they're going to lose a lot of money. And that right there is a huge conflict of interest. So it's just something to keep in mind. All right, you guys, so that is my take on it. I'm really curious to hear what you think. So comment down below. Are you going to continue to consume aspartame? Are you going to limit your consumption of it? Or are you going to stop consuming it altogether? And actually, a few days ago, I posted a poll on my YouTube community page as well as on my Instagram stories, and I asked which sweetener do you think is healthier? And out of erythritol, sucralose, aspartame, and sugar, nobody voted for aspartame. There were votes for the other ones, but no one voted for aspartame. And the last thing that I'm going to say and leave you guys here with is just remember that when it comes to your diet, what you consume every single day is going to make the most impact of your health long-term over your life than what you do every once in a while. So you make the decision that is best for you, and let me know what that is down below in the comments section. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. I post videos on healthy recipes and simple and realistic ways for you to improve your health on a daily basis, and I would love to have you join my community. But that is all I have for today's video. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.